We start today with Donald Trump's CNN town hall. We are going to talk about how CNN handled it. We will talk about reaction to the town hall from Trump supporters. We will talk about reaction to the town hall from Republicans and Democrats in elected office and from other networks. But we have to start with the town hall itself, which was 2 hours of Trump lying uncontrollably, calling the host Kaitlan Collins nasty, and telling the same corrosive greatest hits detrimental to American democracy that we have seen him tell for years now, with some pushback from Kaitlan Collins, but a structure that was completely unprepared for the absurdity and insanity of the event at the very top level. MSNBC put together this sort of highlight list, which included Trump continuing to say he really won 2020, saying that E. Jean Carroll made up a fake story and is a whack job. Remember, a jury found that Trump sexually assaulted her. Called the moderator Kaitlan Collins a nasty person. Complimented Vladimir Putin. Refused to side with Ukraine in that invasion of Ukraine by Russia. Defended keeping classified documents at Mar-a-Lago. Pushed Republicans to default on the U.S. debt. And said he was inclined to pardon a bunch of the January 6th rioters. We're talking about criminals. Let's get right into it, because there is just I can't cover even everything that was lied about because there were so many lies. But let's start. Trump found liable of sexual assault the day before, and then the next day gets a prime time. Oh, it might have been a 1 hour. Now I don't remember if it was 1 or 2 hours. I watched it in an accelerated format after the fact. Standing ovations from a sycophant audience, and Trump arguably admitting to criminality during this event. Trump asked, those classified documents, did you show them to anyone? And Trump says, not really, which I think means yes, he did.
When it comes to your documents, did you ever show those classified documents to anyone?
Not really. I would have the right to. By the way, they were declassified
What do you mean, not really?
after. Not that I can think of. Let me just tell you, I have the absolute right to do whatever I want with them.
Now understand. Not really isn't no, and immediately saying not really, but I could definitely do it if I wanted to, sounds like he is saying yes. Another one of the most notable moments was when he called Kaitlan Collins a nasty person. Now, when I do my analysis of how this was handled, you can simultaneously realize Kaitlan Collins tried to do a good job, and when she pressed Trump, he insulted her. But also the way that this was generally handled by CNN was a disaster. This is sort of the epitome of that. When she actually tries to press Trump, he just insults her.
Why you held on to those documents when you knew the federal government was seeking them and then had given you a subpoena to return them?
Are you ready? Are you ready? Can I talk?
Yeah, what's
you
the
mind?
answer?
Do you mind?
I would like for you to answer the question.
Okay, it's very simple to answer.
That's why I asked it.
It's very simple to, you're a nasty person, I'll tell you.
Can you answer why you held on to the documents?
And of course, the sycophant crowd cheers. Think about this. This event embodies the downfall of journalism, but in more than one way. It's the downfall of journalism in that CNN was in way over its head and completely unprepared structurally to handle the uncontrollable lies flowing out of Trump's mouth like projectile vomiting. They were unprepared to do that. That's a problem, right, in journalism. But also, it's the continued attacks on journalism, where when you attack the moderator who's doing their job or trying to, your supporters cheer. Trump's insulting the person asking questions. Really sad on many, many levels. The topics came up related to the 2020 election, and Kaitlan Collins, again, tries to confront Trump with the reality that the things he's saying, even Republicans say aren't true about the 2020 election, and he just steamrolls right past it.
Never had to pay before. Nobody can afford to continue to pay what's happening with energy. But we were energy independent. We were getting out of Afghanistan with strength and with dignity. And instead we got out, we looked like fools, probably the most embarrassing moment in the history of our country.
We have a lot of questions about the economy and foreign policy tonight. But what you just said there, Republican officials debunked those claims about fraudulent ballots. We want to give you a chance tonight.
Who?
Republican officials in Georgia and every single state. There is no your own election officials, Mr. President. So we wanted to give you a chance.
People were afraid to take on the issue, but we have a big problem in this country. We
wanted to give you a chance to
we have
acknowledge the
elections
results.
that were horrible. If you look at what happened in Pennsylvania, Philadelphia, if you look at what happened in Detroit, Michigan.
This is all debunked lies. Understand that.
If you look at what happened in Atlanta, millions of votes, and all you have to do is take a look at government cameras. You'll see them. People going to 28 different voting booths to vote, to put in 7 ballots apiece.
So, Mr. President,
and they're all
I
on
have
camera.
to stop you there.
None of that happened.
Because there is no evidence of that. Your own election officials testified to that and have said that Republicans in these states did this. In Georgia, there were multiple recounts, including a hand recount. We have questions about the claims that you're making tonight from voters on this topic. I want to bring in Scott Dustin from Concord. He works in...
All right. And then this guy, we're not going to play it, but this guy then asked if Trump is going to stop all of this stuff about 2020. And Trump basically responded, well, if there's no more fraud, then I'll stop talking about them. The topic of documents did come back up. Donald Trump claimed Obama took documents as well.
Obama.
And Kaitlan Collins says Obama did not take documents.
This act is not criminal. I took the documents. I'm allowed to. You know who else took them? Obama took them. Nixon took them.
Obama
Reagan
did not
took
take
them.
documents.
Oh, he didn't?
The difference here that I'd like to know.
Reagan
National
took
Archive
them.
says that President Obama
Even Jimmy
did not
Carter,
take
even Mike
documents.
Pence had some documents, and he's a
You
very
referenced
honorable
Pence,
guy.
you referenced
but you know who
Biden.
took them more than anybody is Joe Biden. He has 1,800 boxes,
That's
and
not
nobody
accurate,
even
Mr.
knows where
President,
they
and you
are.
know that.
1,800, and nobody talks about him.
Now, these are all lies. And again, Kaitlan Collins is trying. Trump is totally steamrolling her in absolutely every way here. They then bring up the insurrection, the riots, January 6, 2021. Trump says Nancy Pelosi is to blame. Kaitlan Collins tries to interject about Trump's continued lies about 10,000 National Guard troops, soldiers, etc. And Trump just keeps going and going and going. Oh, boy. Looks like we have a bit of a glitch here with this clip, but let's see if we can fix it for everybody. Here we go.
We can go sentence after sentence after sentence of things I said and things I put out. One of the big problems was that Nancy Pelosi, Crazy Nancy as I affectionately call her, Crazy Nancy Pelosi and the mayor of Washington were in charge, as you know, of security. And they did not do their job.
They're not in charge of the National Guard. You're in charge of the National Guard.
Well, I offered them National Guard. I said, we'll give you soldiers, we'll give you National Guard.
Trump did not offer. Trump asked for soldiers to protect him. That's the incredible thing. It's an unbelievable, complete rewriting of history, blaming people whose responsibility is not what Trump claims is their responsibility. And then we find out Trump was worried about his own safety. He wanted soldiers there to protect him.
Give you whatever you want, and they turned me down.
Why?
She turned me down. She turned me down in writing. They turned me down.
But your acting defense secretary, Chris Miller, at the time, he says you never gave a formal order to deploy the National Guard. But when it came to that day...
Just the opposite. Chris Miller wrote a book, and he's a fantastic guy, and he was ready to go. They turned him down.
These are all lies. And then maybe one of the most horrifying aspects to this, and again, with a sycophant crowd like this, if the crowd's cheering, that's a moment you want to zoom in on because Trump's probably saying something horrible. And indeed, Donald Trump says he will pardon a large number of the alleged insurrectionists and convicted insurrectionists.
And what they've done, and I love that question, because what they've done to so many people is nothing. And then what they've done to these people, they've persecuted these people. And yeah, my answer is I am most likely, if I get in, I will most likely, I would say it will be a large portion of them. You know, they did a very...
If the crowd's cheering, it's probably a really bad moment. And that alone, Trump saying, I am going to mass pardon criminals who were rioting on my behalf, put everything else aside, put the rest of the town hall, put everything aside. That alone is a great reason not to vote for Donald Trump. When Kaitlan Collins brings up Mike Pence, Trump's former vice president, says, Trump endangered my life that day with what he did and what he incited. Will you apologize? And Trump says, I don't really think I didn't. Pence did something wrong by not holding up the certification of Joe Biden.
But one person who was at the Capitol that day, as you know, was your vice president, Mike Pence, who says that you endangered his life on that day.
I don't think he was in any danger.
Mr. President, do you feel that you owe him an apology?
No, because he did something wrong. He should have put the votes back to the state legislatures, and I think we would have had a different outcome. I really do.
Crowd's cheering. When the crowd cheered, it was a signal that this is one of the crazier things that Donald Trump is saying. Of course, Mike Pence did not have the authority or ability or right or permission, call it whatever you want. He did not have the ability to reject the election of Joe Biden and to somehow try to stuff Trump into the Oval Office for 4 more years. Then the topic of E. Jean Carroll came up. Now, I want you to remember that the day before this town hall, a jury found Trump liable civilly for the sexual assault and defamation of E. Jean Carroll for Trump's assault on her in the 1990s in a Bergdorf Goodman department store in Manhattan. Trump brings up that E. Jean Carroll had a pet named Vagina and that the judge wouldn't let that be part of the trial. I'm not kidding, folks. It's 2023. Former president running again. This is what he's talking about.
Her dog or her cat was named Vagina. The judge wasn't allowed to put that in. All of these things, but with her, they could put in anything. Access Hollywood.
This was a jury of 9 people who found you liable of sexual abuse. Do you think that will deter women from voting for you?
No, I don't think so, because I think the whole thing, just so you understand, ready? I never met this woman. I never saw this woman.
He never saw her. I don't believe a word he's saying. And then Trump actually goes into a detailed story about the circumstances. I think I just lost a light in my studio. That was weird. Goes into a detailed, we'll get that fixed up. He tells a story about what's being said happened, and it's one of the most bizarre moments of the entire thing.
I never met this woman. I never saw this woman. This woman said, I met her at the front door of Bergdorf Goodman, which I rarely go into other than for a couple of charities. I met her in the front door. She was about 60 years old, and this is like 22, 23 years ago.
She was 52.
I met her in the front door of Bergdorf Goodman. I was immediately attracted to her, and she was immediately attracted to me. And we had this great chemistry. We're walking into a crowded department store. We had this great chemistry, and a few minutes later, we end up in a room, a dressing room of Bergdorf Goodman, right near the
And the crowd laughs and laughs and laughs. They just love it. Remember, Trump's been found civilly liable for sexual assault, and they're just making fun of the victim. The crowd's loving it. Everybody's having a party.
Register. And then she found out there were locks on the door. So she said, I found one that was open. She found one. She learned this at trial. She found one that was open. What kind of a woman meets somebody and brings them up, and within minutes, you're playing hanky-panky in a dressing room, okay? I don't know if she was married then or not. John Johnson, I feel sorry for you, John Johnson.
Mr. President, can I...
So think of it, an entire crowd on national TV led by Trump disgustingly laughing about the sexual assault that, remember, it's not a mere allegation now. A jury found Trump liable for that, and the crowd just having a grand old time. Kaitlan Collins did ask Trump about the infamous Access Hollywood tape where Trump says you can just grab women by the you-know-what. Trump defends it, says there's nothing wrong because he says they let you do it. They let you do it.
There was a tape deposition of you from October, and you defended the comments that you made on that Access Hollywood tape about being able to grab women how you want. Do you stand by those comments?
I said if you're famous and rich or whatever I said, but I said if you're a star, you are, and I said, women let you. I didn't say you grab. I said women let. You know, you didn't use that word. But if you look, women let you. Now, they said, will you take that back? I said, look, for 1,000,000 years, this is the way it's been. I want to be honest. This is the way it's been. I can take it back if you'd like to, but if you're a famous person, if you're a star, and I'm not referring to myself, I'm saying people that are famous, people that are stars,
you were asked in the deposition,
people that are rich,
to be a star,
people that are powerful.
Yes.
They tend to do pretty well in a lot of different ways, okay? And you would like me to take that back? I can't take it back because it happens to be true. I said it's been true for 1,000,000 years, approximately.
1,000,000 years, even before Homo sapiens, it was absolutely the truth. Trump then moving on to what we might call foreign policy. The idea of Trump foreign policy, I know it's kind of laughable, but given a number of opportunities to say, given that Russia invaded Ukraine and Russia is in the wrong, do you want Ukraine to come out victorious from that? Or do you want Russia to successfully take over Ukraine? Trump refused to answer that question.
Nancy
but
Pelosi,
the question here is, would you give Ukraine weapons and funding if you were elected?
I would sit down. Let me just put it a nicer way. If I'm president, I will have that war settled in one day, 24 hours.
How would you settle that war in 1 day?
And again, the crowd's cheering, so it must be Trump said something stupid. And indeed, how on earth are you going to settle that in 24 hours?
Because I'll meet with Putin, I'll meet with Zelensky. They both have weaknesses and they both have strengths. And within 24 hours, that war will be settled. It'll be over. It'll be absolutely over.
Do you want Ukraine to win this war?
I don't think in terms of winning and losing. I think in terms of getting it settled so we stop killing all these people and breaking down.
Oh, sounds like a sort of both sides perspective on something Russia did here.
Now,
and the crowd loves it.
Can I just follow up on that? You said you don't think in terms of winning and losing. Mr. President, can I just follow up on that because that's a really important statement that you just made there. Can you say if you want Ukraine or Russia to win this war?
I want everybody to stop dying. Okay. They're dying. Russians and Ukrainians.
They're dying like dogs. So he refused to answer that. And then lastly, and not surprisingly, the cherry on top, Trump refuses to commit to accepting the results of the 2024 election.
For you are running in the 2024 race. If you are the Republican nominee and you are in that 2024 race, will you commit tonight to accepting the results of the 2024 election?
Yeah, if I think it's an honest election, absolutely, I would.
Will you commit
That means no.
to accepting the results of the election regardless of the outcome?
You want me to answer it again? If I think it's an honest election, I would be honored to. And right now, we are so far ahead of both Democrat and Republican. And you know what? If I don't win, this country is going to be in big trouble. It's so sad to see what's happening.
But no commitment there on the accepting the results regardless of the outcome.
If it's an honest election, correct, I will.
Okay, so not committing to accepting the 2024 election results or...
And Trump just kind of waves off Kaitlan Collins and the crowd laughs and everybody has a grand old time. This is dangerous. Everybody's laughing off the fact that he did it in 2020 and he's saying he's going to do it again in 2024. If he loses, he will say that it was rigged. Disastrous event for democracy. Let's now talk about CNN's role in this. If you deal with anxiety or depression, you may have tried meditation, exercise, diet changes, therapy, all of which are important things to try. There is also a new treatment that we've been talking about on the program for years, which for many people has been a game changer, and that is ketamine therapy. The research around ketamine therapy for anxiety and depression looks very promising, which is why I'm thrilled about our new sponsor, MindBloom. MindBloom is the leader in at-home ketamine therapy, having safely helped thousands of people with anxiety and depression. It's delivered to your door. It's done from the comfort of your home. And unlike traditional talk therapy, ketamine works quickly and doesn't have the unpleasant side effects of traditional antidepressants. In a study of over 1,200 MindBloom clients, 89% reported improvements in their anxiety and depression after just 2 sessions. Read about the evidence for ketamine therapy. We've talked about it on the show. It's pretty remarkable stuff. MindBloom is offering my audience $100 off your first 6-session program. Go to mindbloom.com/Pacman. Use the code Pacman. The link is in the description.